How you come back, that speaks volumes. And we're going to have a hell of a football team.
Be great on three. 1, 2, 3.
Are you with me now? Said, are you with me now? Ain't felt this good in a while. They want us to simmer down. Can you hear me now? Am I going in and out? I stop and just look around to see if you with me now. Tell me how you with me now. Ready to put it down. Start at the bottom, already forgot them, but they won't forgive me now. You really ain't ready now. You haters just in the crowd, but still I just look around. Are you with me now? Are you with me now? Whoa.
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. We are coming back at you today for episode 64. The preseason is finally behind us, and we have got an action-packed show for you today. Welcome back to the show. If you're new around here, I am your host, Rhett. Joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, Mr. Bucs Football, Evan. And Evan, like I said, man, the preseason is finally behind us. We don't have to worry about it anymore. We don't have to watch any more subpar football, which is probably my biggest takeaway about the preseason being no longer here. But Evan, how you feeling today, man?
Feeling pretty good. It's a nice little Friday night here in Pennsylvania, so
yeah,
feeling good.
It's all right here in Florida. I mean, it's all right, man. Normally, I've got my trusty...
We don't have a hurricane on the way or anything like you guys, but
normally I've got my trusty bottle of water with me, but all of these animals down here in Tampa cleaned out the shelves, so there's no water to be found, no gasoline. The news really has a way of freaking people out about a storm that could potentially not be that bad. But if you're living under a rock and you don't know what we're referencing to, the east coast of Florida is under siege right now, pun intended, by Hurricane Dorian. It's a storm that's forming out there off of the coast, and right now, last I heard, it's going to be a Cat 4 at landfall. Of course, that could change between now and tomorrow when this episode is released, but of course, if you are in the Tampa Bay area or you're anywhere in that central Florida area, regardless of the outcome, make sure you guys stay safe and make sure you stay prepared. Just don't be a selfish POS who takes all of the gasoline and water for themselves, because, you know, we've seen it before. You guys can survive on 2 or 3 cans of soda a day, but once a storm hits, got to get all that water. So regardless, if you're in Florida and you're listening to us, stay safe during the storm. And of course, we've got some Buccaneers regular season football on the other side of the storm. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to catch you up on the latest Tampa Bay Buccaneers news, and we're going to talk about these last few preseason games that we watched. So, last night, Thursday night, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. It was a pretty lackluster football game. I mean, that's preseason football. It's the 4th preseason game.
Yeah,
so,
I was about to say, that's the 4th preseason game.
Yeah, right around the 3rd quarter is when you really don't know who's on the field. But it was a really big chance for a lot of guys who were on the bubble to step up and really kind of show that they deserve to be on this Buccaneers football team, and there were a few of those guys we'll talk about today. But the Buccaneers also made that first wave of roster cuts. So the roster cuts are on Saturday, which is, ironically enough, the day that this episode is being released. So we're gonna talk about the first 21 guys that were waived or cut by the Buccaneers, and then we'll talk about some guys who were on the bubble. And, of course, like I said, we'll catch you up on all of the biggest headlines. But I've got a list of names for you here. We're going to break them down. There's some names on here you guys have heard of. There's some of them you've probably never heard of. And some of them I'm probably not going to be able to pronounce. But that's all good. So let's do it. Starting at the top of the list, the Buccaneers today waived with injury designation wide receiver KJ Brent, safety Lucas Dennis, who we saw a little bit of the last 2 preseason games.
Had a pick last night.
Oh, yeah. Wide receiver Matthew Eaton, cornerback Devontae Harris, which is a name that's been brought up before. Kind of surprised to see him go, right?
Well, I mean, he was on the team last year, and I thought he played pretty well. They signed him from New Orleans last year, about mid-season, and he played pretty well for being what he was, and they ended up re-signing him this year, and then but as we were talking before the show, that's, the bad part about him is I think he's solid, but that's what happens when you draft, 2 corners high. Because basically you had those first 4 slots almost guaranteed. Carlton Davis, Vernon Hargraves, Sean Murphy Bunting, Jamel Dean. So that's tough for a guy like Devontae Harris.
Yeah. So you don't like to see it, but unfortunately, business is business, and he is no longer a Buccaneer. Moving on, we have got guard Reuben Holcomb. And that's another topic of this preseason, is that backup offensive line did not look super.
What backup offensive line?
Exactly. It's really hard to believe that they had guys lined up against the defensive lines that we were playing, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's finish up this list. Following him is outside linebacker Farrington Huguenin?
I'm not sure.
Wide receiver Anthony Johnson, who had some highlights last night against Dallas. He had one catch that I remember. He caught it on like a little dump route, I think from Testaverde, and then took it like 15 or 20 yards. But he had a highlight, but unfortunately, you're just not going to make the cut. Bucs are pretty stacked at the wide receiver position. Outside linebacker David Kenny, center Josh Laribius, who is the guy that we signed from the Saints. We talked about him a few episodes ago. He is no longer a Buck. Wide receiver DeMarcus Lodge, inside linebacker Corey Nelson was released. Tight end Scott Orndorff, offensive tackle William Poles, defensive lineman Elijah Qualls, offensive tackle Brock Rubel. Here's a big one. Wide receiver Spencer Schnell. You guys know Spencer Schnell. Twitter and Facebook have not been able to shut up about this guy. He had a really good game against Pittsburgh.
One game.
And then after that, you really didn't see him show up. I mean, they stuck him in there for some returns every now and then, but he called fair catches that really shouldn't have been fair catches. So I don't think he got a fair evaluation at the returner position, but as a wide receiver, again, he had that one great game and then just kind of fell off.
He didn't have a catch other than that.
Yeah.
And last night they did 2 sweeps with him or whatever, end arounds, but I mean, he didn't have a catch. Everybody's like, oh my god, I can't believe they cut him. Some of these guys, I feel like a guy like Spencer Schnell, and also a guy like Lucas Dennis. Those 2 guys, I think, are prime candidates for the practice squad. I think that they want to keep working with them guys, and we'll see what happens there. You'll know pretty much the practice squad by the end of tomorrow. You'll know who's on the practice squad.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, guy like Spencer Schnell, it's just another thing. Bucs have basically 3 positions already filled on the wide receiver depth chart, and the bad part is, is he really better than Bobo Wilson, Justin Watson, Scotty Miller? Even though neither one of those guys was spectacular, Spencer Schnell had 1 game, and fans just recognize that 1 game and say, "Oh, why'd you cut this guy?" But trust me, they're not going to be regretting cutting Spencer Schnell.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I think some people get way too caught up in, and that's why I'm glad we're out of the preseason.
They get attached to a certain player.
And that's why I'm glad we're out of the preseason, frankly, because I've seen it a little too much, but people get caught up on one name or one guy, and one guy we'll talk about as soon as we finish up this list. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, and if they cut him, which, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me, but if they cut him, the fan base is going to revolt. So.
But it's preseason, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to keep an open mind that these are names that nobody knew before the first preseason game. Nobody knew who these guys were in training camp. And that's no knock on them. They're playing games in the National Football League, which I have never done and probably will never do. But these are no-name guys who are trying to make a name for themselves. And yes, they did have an impressive showing, Spencer Schnell against Pittsburgh week 1. But that's about it. So you look at, in the grand scheme of things, we're not going to miss out a ton by letting some of those guys go. So let's wrap up this list, and then we'll talk about some of the guys on the bubble. We'll kind of predict that. So I left off on Spencer Schnell. After that, another wide receiver, Cortrell Simpson. Didn't see a ton of him. I think it was injury designation for him as well. Inside linebacker, Emmanuel Smith. Quarterback, Vincent Testaverde. Did I read that correctly?
What?
Well, quarterback, Vincent Testaverde Jr. But yeah, Vincent Testaverde Jr., if I have seen any player get a 50-50 fan reaction this preseason, it was probably him. Because
there were some people commenting that they think he should be the backup, and other people were saying, nope, he's only going to be here for one game.
He got voted player of the game against Dallas. I don't know why. Nothing against the guy. Of course, it's really, really cool, and I know for some of the old school Bucs fans, it brings back some memories seeing Testaverde in the pocket, slinging it to Bucs
good
receivers.
Memories, though.
Yeah, not some great memories. But regardless, Vincent Testaverde Jr., he did not have that good of a showing. Now, to be fair to him, he was kind of out of the loop. The Buccaneers let him go last week sometime, and then they brought him back because of the Blaine Gabbert injury.
It wasn't last week. That was like, that might have been before the Pittsburgh game.
That they cut Testaverde.
Yeah, like he hasn't been there for a little bit.
I thought he hung around for at least a little bit, but
he didn't, because I know he never played in a game.
Yeah, well, that's exactly okay.
And if they had him, they would have played him. So
well, that's exactly what I was just about to get to, was that he never did play into a game up until this point. So Ryan Griffin gets pulled out of the game last night against Dallas. Of course, you're not going to see any starters the fourth preseason game. Testaverde goes in, has a pretty terrible first drive. I think it was like 3 handoffs, and then he tried to throw a pass to Tanner Hudson and floated it 5 feet over his head, and it was not a good-looking throw. Very next drive, he gets out there under center, drops back, fires a dart over the middle, and it's intercepted. So basically what I'm saying, not a good showing for Vincent Testaverde, but this was a guy who came back, and he kind of had to crunch a basic version of the playbook. So for him to step up and at least play, that's one thing, but it's unfortunate he doesn't make the team for some people. But either way, wasn't a great showing for Testaverde Jr. Sorry, maybe somewhere else. Defensive lineman Stevie, don't know how to pronounce his last name. Stevie T. Stevie T has been in and out of Tampa these past few years.
Oh my God, he's been in and out of Tampa more than I have.
He hung around on the roster some of last year. I'm pretty sure the year before that. They brought him back this training camp to kind of fill up a body after Vita Vea went down. He doesn't make the team, which is unfortunate. But knowing Stevie T, like we just said, this is a guy who's found a way to stick around, so he could be a practice squad guy, right?
I'm not sure if he's eligible.
No?
I'm really not sure. I'd have to check on that. I'm not sure what the requirements are, because he was in the 2017 draft class, but I don't think he played all that first year. So I'm not 100% sure what the requirements are for a practice squad guy. It's possible, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Alrighty, either way. Let's wrap up the list. The last guy, offensive guard, Selassie Uhatafe.
Beats me.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but he's not a Buck anymore, so none of my concern at this point. But there is your list. That's the first wave of...
Also, DeMarcus Lodge and Elijah Qualls were also cut.
I think Qualls was on this list. Yeah, Elijah Qualls. Yeah, I said both of them. Wide receiver
no, you
DeMarcus.
Did not.
Yes, sir. Wide receiver DeMarcus Lodge and defensive lineman Elijah Qualls. Either way.
No.
Either way.
I can't wait till this releases and I can just go back and prove
that I didn't say it. Maybe I didn't.
Because I wanted to bring, and I mean maybe that's my fault, because I wanted to bring up a point about DeMarcus Lodge, possibly being on the practice squad, because like the guys, like we'll get into this a little bit later, because I have something on Scotty Miller, the guys that normally get injured and miss some time, and especially those type of guys, they're normally the type of guys that get on the practice squad, because the team wants to see them healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later though.
Absolutely. So either way, there is your first set of cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, today, Saturday, the day that you're probably listening to this, is when the second roster cut will be. They've got to be down by 53. So you'll have a pretty good idea by the end of the day who's going to be on this team and who is not. But as of
And
right
also,
now,
but Bucs may be adding some people. You know?
you never know.
Teams, 31 other teams are cutting guys. So I honestly think they will end up adding somebody. Obviously, I'm not expecting a big name or anything, but I do think that they're going to end up maybe 1 or 2 offensive linemen, maybe a defensive lineman. And then Saturday after 4 p.m., you're 53, and you can sign a guy like a few years ago when the Bucs signed T.J. Ward. That was all fine and dandy, but then you have to create a roster spot for him. So they had to trade J.J. Wilcox to the Steelers for a draft pick to make room for Ward. So that's what just happens after Saturday at 4.
Right. So let's move on now. That is your first wave of cuts by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Some more moves could be coming. Well, they will be. But some more roster additions could be coming.
And this will be outdated, by the way. So.
Exactly. So let's get into this next segment. That'll also be outdated by the time you listen to this show. Let's talk about some of the guys on the bubble. And these are some guys who showed us enough to possibly make the team, but it really just comes down to what's needed most at that position. The first name I'm going to throw out to you is tight end Tanner Hudson. He had an awesome preseason. He was probably my preseason MVP on the offensive side of the ball because he just showed up where he needed to show up, had all of the clutch catches, kept catching touchdowns, but one fatal flaw about this guy is that he cannot block to save his life. He gave up an ugly sack against Dallas. He's given up a sack before. I want to say it was against Cleveland. And we talked about that on the show. He is an all-time talent, but he cannot block. What do you think about Tanner Hudson?
Just what you said. I mean, he's a pretty good receiver, but he cannot block. And I'm sorry, but when you're not the first or second string tight end, you have to block. And that's something that if he could block, if he was a mediocre blocker, he'd be a lock to make this team.
Right.
But the problem is, and a lot of people are saying, well, you can't cut Hudson, or already counting him in. It wouldn't. I'm not saying it's going to happen, because personally, I don't. I do think they're going to keep him, because I texted you, like, I was actually going to predict that, he was going to get cut, but all I told you, it's kind of hard for me to say that when all he keeps doing is catching touchdowns, because, like, look, 5 minutes after I sent that text to you, he scored a touchdown. It's like, okay.
Right, yeah. I think you even threw it up on Twitter. You were like, something about Tanner Hudson, he can't block, but might keep him on this team because he just keeps catching touchdowns.
So, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's tricky because you have a pass-catching tight end, O.J. Howard, pass-catching tight end, Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate's not the best blocker. O.J. Howard's a pretty good blocker. But Tanner Hudson is bad. And Cameron Brate's not a good blocker, and Cameron Brate is a better blocker than Tanner Hudson.
We also think another name at that tight end position is Jordan Leggett, who had a pretty crucial touchdown against Cleveland. I don't know if he can block any better than Hudson, but...
I don't think Leggett is seriously... He'll be one of the cuts tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't think... Or I should say Saturday, since when you guys listen to this, it will be tomorrow. But anyways, yeah, personally, I think they are going to keep 4 tight ends probably, because I think they like Auclair enough. They got to have some type of run-blocking tight end. So that's just... Auclair's going to be that guy. And right now, Auclair's injured. I'm not sure if he's going to be ready for week 1. But, it's just... I think he's gonna make the team. Just I wouldn't be shocked if Tanner Hudson was cut. And if he is cut, they're gonna put him on the practice squad. He might get picked up. Oh well, if that's how practice squads work. You'd rather him be on your practice squad than be just a free agent. So
right.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think Tanner Hudson stays. But yeah, gotta block.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go over some more big stars of the preseason. There's a few more names that kind of pop out, and I've got a good feeling about some of these guys making the team. This next one is on the defensive side of the ball. A dude coming off of a pretty crucial injury. That's linebacker Jack Sitchie. Dude, he was on fire against Dallas. He had a good, solid preseason. He showed up where he needed to show up, but he showed us what he is capable of against Cleveland and Dallas. I mean, he had 4 combined tackles in Thursday's game. He had a sack as well. They blitzed him right up the middle, and I mean, he came screaming up the middle. Like, oh my God.
I posted the video on the page, and Jack Sitchie sort of, you can add the post to the story. He did that with my post, so thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
But yeah, he's looked healthy throughout camp. He's coming off of a torn ACL. I'm excited to see what he can do because BA already said that he's going to be a good addition to the team. He's going to help us out on special teams as well. So I've got a pretty confident feeling he sticks around and makes the team. Bucs draft pick from last year.
Yeah, basically a lock. He wasn't. No,
2 years ago.
Yeah, he was 20. Was he 2017?
I want to say 18 because he got his rookie year was the 18. year. His rookie year was when he tore his ACL, and that was the year that Quan also tore his ACL. He tore his ACL, I think, like same game as Quan did.
He did, but that wasn't his rookie season. I don't think. I'm checking right now.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it was 17. I wasn't last year. I know it wasn't last year.
Okay. All right. Here.
Good. I mean, good for the kid.
I'll see if I can beat you to it. But yeah, he is playing.
No, you cannot. Yeah. So I mean, good for him. Okay. So yeah, he was 7. No, he was. Okay. Well, what do you consider? Oh yeah, he was 18.
Buccaneers select Jack Sitchie, number 202 in the 2018 NFL Draft. Woo! Woohoo! Yeah, he's played some good football.
Okay, well, I'll see ya. I quit the show. I'm done.
All right.
This is stupid. I'm taking my ball and going home.
Oh, man.
Anyways, good for Jack Sitchie. Man. Good for Jack Sitchie that... I was so confident. Good for Jack Sitchie. I mean, he came off that torn ACL, and he didn't start training camp off practicing, and he was cleared to practice shortly before the Pittsburgh game. Didn't play at all in the Pittsburgh game, and then played pretty well versus Miami. Then continued his strong play versus Cleveland and Dallas. So I mean, Bruce Arians is all but confirmed. I mean, he didn't come out and say it, Jack Sitchie made the team, but. If you don't make the team, that means Bruce Arians is that's a bad human right there.
Yeah, that means something terrible must have happened those last 18 hours because he, the way he said, he kind of alluded to he's going to help us out this season. So of course you hear that, you're going to think he's on the team, but either way, good news for Jack Sitchie. You love to see it. Let's talk about another big star from the preseason. One of my favorite guys to watch, running back Dare Ogunbowale.
Best running back on the team?
Oh, my goodness. It's hard to say. He was getting some first-team reps in training camp. We saw it, but he's, 5'11"? He does not run like he's 5'11", 215, or 205, however much he is. He is a big, strong runner, and, I mean, he's my lock for that third running back position. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's going to get some regular season playing time too. Like a lot of these guys, you see, he might be a 5 spot. You might not see a lot of those guys, backup offensive linemen. Obviously, if they carry 3 quarterbacks, defensive linemen, you might not see those guys.
Yeah,
Dare, you're gonna see. I'm not sure. You're obviously not going to see him as much as you did in the preseason because obviously Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones are going to be getting a whole lot more carries as well. But you're going to see him on probably some third downs. I don't think he'll be in first and second down, but probably on some third downs when they think Barber needs a little rest and maybe a 3rd and 2. And I mean 3rd and 2 you can really just.
Can utilize a guy like that. I mean, he's
a good pass catcher and he's a good runner. So 3rd and 2 is perfect for that style of play.
And that's another thing too is you kind of saw him last preseason. They used him on kick returns, and I want to say they lined him up for 1 or 2 in the Pittsburgh game. But you saw him a little more on kick returns last year, and that didn't work out for him. He stuck around on the practice squad for a year, as far as I know. He's been around the Buccaneers organization, but this preseason, he really took a next step. And one of the things you had mentioned, I think one of the most improved parts about him is he's a strong runner, but for as strong as a runner he is, he's a really good route runner and just a pretty solid pass catcher. He made some pretty impressive catches this preseason. So that's pretty useful for a guy like that, to prove that you can be utilized in whether it's a run play or a pass play at the running back position. That's pretty important for making the team, and he's definitely my lock for that running back spot. But let's talk about the other two guys who are kind of on the bubble. I wouldn't say that, but Andre Ellington and Bruce Anderson. Comparing those two guys, I kind of have to say, for me, Bruce Anderson did a little bit more to prove that he can stick around. But you had also mentioned that Andre Ellington isn't even practice squad eligible, so...
Yeah, but, like, has Bruce Anderson does more... Has Bruce Anderson done more?
He did more against... He did more against Dallas than I have seen Andre Ellington do this entire preseason. Now, Bruce Anderson, don't get me wrong, he didn't do a ton either. He came into camp like the most hyped up running back we had on the roster, and then
clearly it's still following him because he hasn't been good, and people want to. Okay.
I'm not saying I want to keep him around, but I'm saying he showed me enough against Dallas that maybe he's a practice squad guy, because I don't think the Bucs. Do you think the Bucs are going to carry 4 running backs?
4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who would your fourth one be? Bruce Anderson or Andre Ellington?
Andre Ellington. You can put, because you can't put Ellington on the practice squad. That's the biggest thing. You can put Bruce Anderson on the practice squad and just have him for next year.
And carry Ellington. I don't think Ellington's a bad back, but
Andre Ellington has been more of a, just looking at the box scores here, Andre Ellington has been way more of a receiving threat.
Yeah, he's just a dump pass kind of guy, and there's nothing wrong with that, because it's nice to have one of those. If Ronald Jones can catch a football and move fast, that's one thing. Peyton Barber isn't super great of a receiving back, last I remember. Dare could catch some passes, but I can't imagine how often they use him in that ability.
I don't know, man. I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, yeah, you got to cut Ellington." He's not. They're not going to do that because that's Bruce Arians' boy. And it's always funny. I didn't think Jaquiz Rogers was too good, but people didn't like their cutter, so they, despised Jaquiz Rogers.
I didn't like seeing Jaquiz Rogers on a football field.
Well, but everybody really hate on Jaquiz Rogers and their cutter. Oh, there's Cutter again with his boy Jaquiz Rogers. Why is it just Andre Ellington sucks? That's it. It's not, there's Bruce Arians with his boy Andre Ellington.
Right. I understand.
It's the same exact thing. But Bruce Arians, Dirk Cutter's name isn't Bruce Arians, and this isn't, Dirk Cutter already had a few years under his belt, I guess. But
yeah, Dirk Cutter's definitely not Bruce Arians. Let's make that clear.
I'd feel much more comfortable with Bruce Anderson on the practice squad and Andre Ellington. And people forget, everybody says, "Oh, he's got nothing left in the tank."
He was a starter at one point. He has experience.
On All or Nothing, that Amazon Prime TV show, that was, with the Arizona Cardinals, the 2015 season, he was their starter, and he got injured. He was a good running back. Don't tell me he doesn't have it, because he's had it before, and he's shown at times. Now, not all the time. I know there's been a few times, like the Miami game. The Miami game was his worst game, I think. He fumbled. There were a few runs that didn't really look very good. But, we're talking about the fourth running back here. Like I said, the fourth running back is not going to get involved that much. The only reason, if Bruce Anderson hadn't been compared by some Bucs fans to David Johnson, that was so unfair. But if Bruce Anderson hadn't been compared to him, they wouldn't be having this discussion, because everybody expected Bruce Anderson to be like David Johnson, and the second they saw Bruce Anderson do good, they were like, "Oh man, yeah, you gotta keep this guy, Well, David Johnson was drafted in the 3rd round of that draft, and Bruce Anderson was an undrafted free agent. So let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but let's talk about one more guy that caught my attention, more so in this last preseason game, but defensive lineman Pat O'Connor. He was used as an interior defender, and he played defensive end last season. And I think this year he was initially listed as an outside linebacker. But he looked pretty good in the interior defensive line against Dallas. He even came up big for a huge sack. I think Shaq Barrett, Noah Spence, and Pat O'Connor basically all got there at the same time. That's another name I want to talk about in a second. But Pat O'Connor, I mean, he's a solid guy. Do you think he's a depth piece they keep around?
Probably, and especially because Jeremiah Ledbetter was waived injured, so
Yeah.
That helps his cause a whole lot. I think he's solid. I mean, he had some potential when they first signed him, I believe, from Detroit's practice squad. I think like the end of the 2017 season or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's been around a little bit. He's decent. I mean, if you could find another depth piece cheap, I would look. Like I wouldn't, like I threw out the name on Twitter. Now he's more of a defensive tackle, but I threw out the name Willie Henry. The Ravens just cut him. 25 years old, had 3.5 sacks in 2017, had 1 sack in 2018, but only played in 3 games. Went on IR around like October after he had not surgery. It was something with a hernia. He had something wrong with the hernia. They put him on IR, and now they just cut him. So, like if you could find somebody like that, I obviously, you're not gonna say, "Oh, we got Pat Connor," but I mean, Pat Connor's fine. Like,
yeah, but you like
Pat O'Connor. Sorry, Patrick O'Connor, isn't it?
Yeah,
O'Connor. Right?
But I think that's something you like with the identity of this defense is just the big body guys in the middle. Because if there's one thing that I can take away from this defense after the preseason, it's that you're really going to have a tough time running the ball against them. The secondary is still kind of a question mark, but there were some guys who had a pretty good preseason. And pass rush, yes, I know that's what you were kind of alluding to there.
Wow.
How you feeling about this pass rush coming into week 1?
Be feeling a lot better if they had a guy like Jadeveon Clowney. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously you would be feeling better, but don't get started on that.
Oh, that's hype, man. I'm not a Jadeveon Clowney fan.
You're what?
I'm not a Jadeveon Clowney fan.
Okay, you just don't like good football players.
No, that's
fine. I get your whole spiel, man.
No. I'll say this. He had a pretty solid year last year. I think the year before that he started to step it up a little bit. But between then and the Outback Bowl that was played in Tampa, when he had that one big play for South Carolina, he went into the league, was hyped up over that one play, and I didn't see him do much of a damn thing up until a few years ago.
Well, would be the best pass rusher the Bucs have right now.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. Well, we'll find out what his true colors are when he plays in Miami this year, because we saw it happen with Ndamukong Suh. You go to Miami, get to take it easy for the year.
He doesn't want to go to Miami.
He doesn't want to go to Miami, but
he's not going to Miami. I don't think he's either going to go to Philly or to Seattle, or he'll just sit out.
I'm going to feel like a real ass if when this episode comes out, basically every key point we talked about is going to be filled up. Like, he's going to sign tomorrow with someone, and it's not going to be any of the teams we just mentioned.
It's going to be the Bucs. Yeah, and then this whole podcast.
It'll be a straight trade. We'll trade Cairo Santos to the Texans, and then they'll just give us Jadeveon Clowney. It'll work just like that.
Cairo Santos and like Bruce Anderson, because he's invaluable. So. I mean, they might have to give something back. Like the Texans might. Santos and Anderson.
They'll give us back Brian Anger. I think they just released him today.
For just Clowney? No way. Bruce Anderson, guys, come on. He's the best back on the team. David Johnson.
No.
Can't trade this guy. Cannot move this guy.
Evan is joking. I don't know if anyone can say. Someone's gonna turn this on and skip to around the 34-minute mark, and they're gonna say, "What is this asshat saying?"
Oh, absolutely, yeah. With the dumb fanatic headband on. Phillies are losing 6-1, by the way. So woohoo, that's fun.
Yeah, baseball.
So yeah. Anyways. The pass rush is still, but I'm going to get into a point here. Didn't know what you wanted next. I want to get into a point, though, that has sort of concerned me maybe a little bit more in the pass rush. So, if you want to, didn't know what you wanted to do.
No, yeah, I figured we would transition from some key players to basically the biggest thing that we took away this preseason. One of the things that I said was the defense and the run defense that they have. So that's a big takeaway from this preseason that I've seen, especially with the depth that they have. Kind of makes me feel a little bit better playing against the run. But yeah, toss something out there. What you got, my man?
So, I've been a big fan of this man, and, like, there was a player that a lot of Bucs fans wanted that I didn't, and this guy was picked instead. And that's Sean Murphy-Bunting. Sean Murphy-Bunting has not been good at all. Like
he did not have a very good preseason at all. He looked just lost against Pittsburgh.
And, you know, the shame of it is he played at Central Michigan. Central Michigan is not the NFL. The teams they're playing are not the Dallas Cowboys. Even though you're playing against third stringers and stuff, that's still probably better than anything you played. Yeah. And a lot of people bring this up. Cornerback is a tough position to develop. Just like we were saying I believe we might have been talking about Murphy-Bunting, or maybe Hargraves we were talking about. You know, like you said, Rondé Barber, like, he was afraid he was going to get cut after 1 year because he was so bad that first year.
Yeah.
Like, he was just awful. And now he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. So cornerbacks generally take a little bit to develop. Do they take as long as Vernon Hargraves? No, not really. Hargraves hopefully breaks out this year, but normally year 3 is when you see a cornerback take that next step.
Yeah.
Years 1 and 2 are really like learning years. And right now, you know, you're looking at a guy who has played at Central Michigan his whole career and is just now in the NFL, and the game is way faster. So I think he's going to be fine. But he's not good. Maybe not good, but hasn't been good. So, you know, a lot of people were saying, oh, he could be a starting nickel. I don't think so. I don't know what this team's going to do. I guess Carlton Davis, Vernon Hargraves on the outside. Jamel Dean? I don't know.
Jamel Dean did not look super good against Dallas.
He wasn't good, but he was. He's probably the best. Dude, this draft class, not gonna lie, the defensive backs have been a little underwhelming. I mean, Mike Edwards didn't play that much; he was injured. So
yeah.
But the 3 defensive backs they took, Jamel Dean was injured, missed the first game, played pretty good against Miami, and then yeah. Also, something I just thought of with a defensive back.
Yeah.
Does Devontae Harris get cut today if he actually catches those 2 interceptions?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
No, he doesn't. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that if he catches those 2 dropped interceptions he had, which hurts, man, that really does hurt because
that's his minor concern. This team, why does this team have trouble catching the football on defense? Like,
yeah, we saw it with Jamel Dean.
Jamel Dean, I think Kevin Minter dropped one. That's going to cost them a game one of these times. Like, they're going to, like, a regular season game. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be down there with 30 seconds left, down 4, and, you know, Vernon Hargraves is going to the ball right into his hands and drop it. Next play is going to be a touchdown. Like, that's going to cost them. If they don't get that fixed, like, I don't know how to use a jug machine. Like, if they don't get that fixed, that's going to come back to bite you eventually. Like, if you get your hands on the ball, you got to catch it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something else we can look at with going back to what you had said about the rookies. You know, part of me wants to equate it to, well, you know, these guys just need to get some action. They need to get their feet wet because you think about Vita Vea. He didn't really have an opportunity to go through a full camp, a full preseason. He had to play quite a few games before he really started to look like first-round potential. And I know you said that cornerback is a hard position to develop, but when you've got that many rookies back there and they're all kind of looking underwhelming, definitely makes you not feel super great about the position. But yeah, Sean Murphy-Bunting did not have that great of a preseason, so I start to worry about it in that sense. But
man, I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll time will tell. I hope.
Yeah, really.
I hope he's good for his sake. But had 3. I think you might want to maybe move on here because we had 3 pretty key injury updates on
Yeah.
some 3 pretty key defenders that if the Bucs were without all 3 of these guys for the rest of the season, they'd be in big trouble. So
Absolutely. So we have got some Tampa Bay Buccaneers news. Let's talk about the good stuff, because we talked about how nervous we are about this young secondary. Some of the guys who were underwhelming and some of the guys who were going to be washing dishes at the Cracker Barrel next week. Let's talk about some good news. And first and foremost, Buccaneers informed everyone today that Lavonte David is going to be ready to go for Week 1 against the San Francisco 49ers. That helps us out a ton, dude. I'm excited about Lavonte coming back.
Well, when your best player on defense is able to play in a game, it's going to help. I mean, and a lot of people were sort of mixed on it. They're like, is he going to play? Is he not? I wasn't. I was always going to wait. Personally, I wasn't sure if he was going to play.
Yeah.
Because, like they said, like they're hopeful to have him back Week 1. That's not very confident. You're not confident you have him back Week 1. Now, I did think that either one of Lavonte David and Vea was going to play. Notice how I said or.
Yeah.
That means that I thought only one of them was going to play. So that means that Vita Vea is not going to play. I'm not saying. I'm just.
But he is.
If I only have one out of 2 of them playing, and Lavonte David's basically already confirmed, he still has to practice on Tuesday and not have any setbacks. Let's make that clear.
He's got to ease into everything going on around him. It is a much faster paced atmosphere when you're going from the preseason into the regular season. But another bit of news, a name that you had just mentioned, Vita Vea, who initially we thought was going to be out until about Week 3, Week 4. He was warming up before the Dallas game last night. So Bucs didn't come out and say that he's going to be ready to go Week 1, but a really, really, really good sign for him, because he had, an MCL sprain, I believe? If I remember correctly.
Yep.
Those are iffy. They're kind of like hamstrings. They can go one way or they can go another.
When is this guy going to play in a full preseason?
It really would have helped him out, especially because we had seen him take such a big step at the end of last season.
He was almost dominant in times last season, and, he had a nice training camp going. It was his first training camp where he actually put the pads on stuff, because it was either the first day or the day before they put on pads that he got injured last year.
Yeah.
Had to miss the entire preseason and the first 3 games of the regular season.
Yeah.
Now, his status is still in question for Week 1. Wasn't really able to play in the preseason. I mean, I believe he played that first game in Pittsburgh, then got injured. So, I feel bad for him. He can never play preseason football, and a guy like him, I feel like you said, he could really, really use the experience. So it sucks, but hopefully he's back Week 1. Yeah. Personally, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna be.
I mean, even if it's not Week 1, one of the biggest things we took away from his injury initially was he's not going to be missing a ton of time. And I feel like that's kind of confirmed now that he's not going to be missing the first half of the season. At worst, he's going to miss the first quarter of the season, which, of course, those are crucial games that get you set up for that terrible road trip the Bucs have to take. But even if he's back by Week 2 or at the latest Week 3...
Yeah, I think Week 3 is probably...
it's still enough for him to kind of ease back into that position, which isn't too bad of a thing. We've got 2 more player injuries we can go over here. So Vita Vea, still kind of a question mark, but he's making some good progress initially. Lavonte David back for Week 1. Another guy who was supposed to play against Dallas, did not play against Dallas. That's safety, Justin Evans. That's pretty crucial. And, I mean, the reason he didn't play is because he was having some soreness, and the Bucs wanted to...
And his Achilles, which isn't good.
Yeah, he's been dealing with that weird toe, foot, heel, whatever the hell you want to call it, injury for so long.
Just cut off his entire leg.
Yeah, man. I mean, he'll go Shaquem Griffin. We'll just give him one of those robot foots.
Anything below the knee, you just got to cut, because the dude's just cursed.
Yeah, that part's rough. But Justin Evans playing against Dallas would have been huge, because he's already kind of on the bubble for starting Week 1. Even if he's ready to go, he's not going to start. I think, depending on where Edwards is at. I don't know where he's at, but...
Yeah, well, bro, can I just say really fast?
Yeah, go
Bruce
ahead,
Arians has had an awful timeline for injuries. He said Mike Edwards is going to be out 6 to 7 days. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well,
Scotty Miller, he had that hamstring injury all preseason.
He said Nick Fitzgerald will miss 3-4 days. He was out all training camp and preseason. Like, what is he doing? Like,
yeah,
he has to know. Like, there's no way you can actually know. Oh, yeah, there's no way you can actually think, oh, yeah, Nick Fitzgerald, okay, yeah, he's going to be out 5 days. No, you have to know. Like,
yeah.
Come on. You got to know this injury's serious, man.
Part of me wants to think that one of the things we've learned about BA, and I mean, people already knew this because of his years of coaching, but he's just a blunt guy. He's very honest. He's very blunt.
Not very honest about injury reports.
Exactly. And I think what that leads me to say is that maybe he just calls him as he sees him at first. He goes, oh, yeah, he walked off the field under his own power. He'll be back in a week. And not to say that he hasn't dealt with injuries like this before, but it does get you concerned when he says a guy's going to be back on a certain timetable and that he's not. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
A little sidebar here. I was looking on Twitter, and USF is playing Wisconsin.
Oh, it's not pretty, is it?
Dominated by Wisconsin. But Wisconsin's wearing their red jerseys. Brett McMurphy, who's the college football insider guy, tweeted at 10:02 p.m. It says, in a rarity, the team wearing a red is actually winning at Raymond James Stadium.
Oh, sheesh. Stop it. Well, the Bucs don't wear red at Raymond James, so that can kind of nip that in the bud. Bucs are usually wearing white at Ray J.
Last home game, what'd they wear?
I don't want to
bring it back, baby.
They won that game. They won that game. 3-1 in the preseason, by the way. Let's talk about this preseason.
First winning preseason record. 11 years.
Oh, dude, 2008. And of course, you don't want to hype up going undefeated in the preseason. I'm glad they lost one, especially that game against Pittsburgh.
I don't care if they lost all 4.
I don't either. It
doesn't matter.
Did you see the video of the Bills today? Like, them reacting?
Oh, my God. Dude, no, and I saw the one... I'm sorry, I don't really like to do this. Buffalo Fanatics, right? That's a great page, right? Bills Fanatics, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I don't even know. They're hype. They're like 4-0. This team is special. I'm like... Dude.
Do you remember when the Cleveland Browns went 4-0 in the preseason and everyone was selling T-shirts and getting so excited?
Yeah, you remember when the Detroit Lions did the same thing in 2008, went 0-16? And their quarterback got into a safety after he stepped out of bounds?
Oh my God, that's one of my favorite highlights ever about that team. Is he's rolling back into the end zone, steps out, and I think it was who was it? Was it Kyle? Or what was his name?
Orlovsky, former Buccaneer.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he was their backup 2012, I think.
No. I'm thinking of the God, what was the name of the lineman that played for the Vikings? Was it Kyle Allen?
Jared Allen.
Jared Allen was in that highlight as well. But what I'm trying to say, this Buffalo Bills video, you would have thought they won the Super Bowl when time expired and they went 4-0 in the preseason. All I've got to say is it's probably the most excited Buffalo fans are going to get all season.
Well, at least they have Antonio Brown, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about this last injury update, and then we will preview the San Francisco game a little bit. This is a name the Bucs fans have been concerned about all offseason. That's Jason Pierre-Paul. We got a little bit of an update. He's got solid recovery. I mean, he's on par with where we thought he was going to be. But the Bucs put him on the reserve non-football injury list. And what that means is he's going to miss the first 6 weeks of the regular season, no matter what, which puts him at a timetable of maybe mid-October, November return, if he even plays at all this year.
Yeah.
Jason Pierre-Paul suffered a cervical fracture in his neck during a car accident in May. He's going to miss the first 6 weeks. Like I said, he's shown some progress, but the Bucs put him on the reserve non-football injury list. That basically means, like I've said 3 times now, he's gonna miss the first 6 games. But after week 6, the Bucs have up to 21 days for Pierre-Paul to be activated, or he's going to be out for the season. He can be cleared to play immediately in the final 10 games if he appears healthy, but he's probably going to need some time to get back in football shape.
Yeah.
So
week 7 they got the bye week.
Yeah.
Which helps. well, maybe not in his case because you don't really practice that much during a bye week.
Yeah, but
So
I mean, it's hard for me to believe.
Case, it might not help, but
it's hard for me to believe that even if there's not a group practice, if he's cleared for football activities, he's going to be doing
something. Yeah,
yeah. These guys all have private trainers. Freaking Dominic Sue spent most of training camp up in Oregon working out up there.
So. Also, Wisconsin's wearing white, so they're not even wearing red right now. Obviously, I know their color's red, but, screw you, Brett McMurphy.
He duped you, didn't he?
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I still don't know if Pierre-Paul's going to be back. Like, really don't. Like,
I think if we see him play football this year, it will be...
At the earliest.
It will be if the Bucs are making a playoff push.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. If they're 0-6 when Week 7 rolls around, I don't know if they're gonna rush him back. Like,
right.
And I think regardless of where they're at in the standings, though, the earliest that he can play is probably like Week 9, which is against the Seahawks, because they play Week 8 versus the Titans, Week 9 versus the Seahawks, then come home to face the Cardinals, and that's the end of the brutal road stretch. So I think that's probably the earliest he can play is probably Week 9. But you gotta think, like, you're not just gonna throw him out there. So
right.
Week 7 he can come back, practice. Week 8 that week he can practice. Week 9, and I'm not saying he's gonna start. Like, I'm saying, like, maybe get him, 10, 15 snaps on Week 9, and then just ease him into a Week 10. Then Week 11, if he's feeling good, he can be like a full starter. But
yeah.
What a boost that'd be, right?
Yeah. No, definitely.
If they're in a playoff push, just like you said, and you can, that's like a trade deadline edition, basically.
Yeah.
If he can come back at full health, and obviously he's not getting 12.5 sacks this year like he did last year. That's not going to happen. Not with him missing 6 games.
Yeah.
But if he can come back, give you 5 sacks, you're happy with that. 5 sacks, and let's say he plays 9 games, 5 sacks, 9 games, you take that.
5 sacks, and we'll say 4 sacks in the postseason, just to be courteous. Yeah. And then he'll set a Super Bowl record for sacks in that game.
Whoa. Right after the Bucs trade Bruce Anderson for Jadeveon Clowney, right?
Right, yeah. So there is your Buccaneers injury news. Of course, Wednesday coming up this week is when the official injury report for Week 1 drops. I'm so excited.
What else is coming Wednesday, Rhett?
Brand new episode of CFP.
What is it?
Oh, you didn't know.
Oh,
well,
I didn't know.
If you guys don't know, me and Evan are in a little bit of a fantasy football league, and
I'm kind of good at it. Rhett's kind of not. So
I had a solid year, dude.
You drafted Le'Veon Bell, and then
no. Here, you're interrupting me because I don't talk about last year. I kind of wiped that one off on my record.
You said you had a solid year.
I had a solid year 2 years ago.
That's like
2 years ago.
That's like saying. Whatever. That's like
saying the Bucs won their Super Bowl.
That's like a guy at a bar. Like, he's like 30 years old, but he's bragging about like he went to an all-star game in high school for football. Like, and he's like watching the TV. He's like, oh, see that guy? I could do that. Like,
yeah, man. I remember this one time I beat a double coverage and then I blew up the running back in the backfield.
Like, I'm sure. And then you woke up. Like, I'm sure.
And then I went to the sideline, and Coach said, "Get back in there, boy. We're playing you at tight end." And then I caught the game-winning pass in the state championship.
I didn't take a play off. I was in there the whole. I even kicked the game winner.
Coach
and
said,
the next year, I was the punter, the kicker.
I was everywhere. You better believe it.
The opposing quit.
So, that's your Buccaneers injury news, and of course the official the official injury report dropping Wednesday, and the Cannon Fire Podcast Fantasy Draft is on Wednesday. So I don't know if I'm live streaming it yet. I probably will, but if you guys are here with us on YouTube, make sure you check that out. That'll be streaming live. It'll be a great time. Something we do every year.
Can't wait to see Rhett pick Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, he's gonna be my first overall.
Yeah.
Man, Jerry Jones said he's going to miss some time yesterday. He's probably going to miss more than the season opener.
And you can sit at that bar with Steve, the ex-football all-star, and just talk about how you drafted Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, man, 2 years ago I drafted Ezekiel Elliott, and he single-handedly won me all my games. I didn't even...
10 years ago I played against Zeke Elliott.
I didn't...
I stripped him. I got the ball from him.
I didn't even need a flex player. He just got me 30 points a game. So let's preview this San Francisco game before I keep
Yeah, we have an actual football game that counts to preview.
The Buccaneers have a football game that counts, and we're going to talk about it here on the show for the first time in like 9 months. And
Speaking of San Francisco, that's where the All-Star game was at.
I am so hyped for this football game. The San Francisco 49ers are coming to town Sunday, September 8th. It's going to be a 4:25 p.m. kickoff.
I hate those, by the way.
I hate it because I'm going to be working. I work from 6 to 11 that night. Yeah. So I'm going to see if I can I'm going to be running the board in the 102.5 The Bone studio. I'm going to see if I can't try and turn on one of those TVs and catch the second half of the game. But
wow, what if you turn it on it's like 35-0 49ers?
No, I'll turn it off. But this is a very exciting game. We kind of previewed some of it on our season predictions show, so if you want to hear some more in-depth, make sure you go check it out. It's actually almost to 1,000 views. But let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers game. This is a team coming in that really isn't that great of a football team. You got Jimmy Garoppolo, who looked pretty terrible this preseason, lots of interceptions. You've got a defensive line that's pretty solid for San Fran, and I think it's going to be a test for the offensive line that we've got, which is, of course, a big topic of conversation coming out of the preseason. But other than that, you've got Quan Alexander, who's going to be returning back. He's going to try and be healthy, and he's going to try and play to the best of his ability. And
what's their nickname? The Hot Boys?
Who? The 49ers?
You didn't see that?
No, dude.
Quan Alexander, nicknamed the 49ers linebacker group, the Hot Boys or something, but it's boys with a Z.
Stop it. Are you kidding me?
No, look it up. It's a real thing. The Hot Boys are coming to Tampa, baby.
All right, well, yeah, the Hot Boys are coming to Tampa, and we better have an answer for them. But if we can, long story short, this football game, I've got the Buccaneers winning it. It's not going to be a shootout.
What's the score? Real quick, we're on the spot. What's the score?
This is going to differ from my season predictions, obviously, but I want to say 24-17.
Okay.
Maybe 24-14 because San Fran will miss a kick or something. I don't know.
All right. Who scores the first touchdown of the Buccaneers season?
Chris Godwin.
Okay. From Jameis Winston?
From Jameis Winston. It'll be that dump pass that we saw against Pittsburgh and saw it again against Miami and Cleveland.
All right. Does any Buccaneers get any interceptions?
Oh, you really put me on the spot here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think multiple Bucs get interceptions.
Whoa.
I think we get.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
Start the Bucs fantasy defense.
I think we get.
Wait. Time out. The Bucs. I said the Bucs fantasy and defense. Start the Bucs defense in fantasy. There we go.
You got it. I think we're going to see multiple interceptions. I think Jimmy G is going to be unfortunate. Maybe one of them won't be his fault, but I think he'll try and force a throw that gets tipped up in the air, and somebody comes down with it. And I'll say that someone is Jamel Dean, and then the second one is Vernon Hargraves, who gets it one-on-one, kind of like he did against Pittsburgh, even though it didn't count.
Very spicy. Okay.
Yeah.
Vernon Hargraves actually doing something in a regular season game. Wow.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. I don't know. How many dropped interceptions you think are now?
Maybe one from Jamel Dean.
If there's one, that's bad.
If there's one, it'll be Jamel Dean.
That can never happen again. Jamel Dean, if you ever drop, because I looked on the film, he was gone. That was been a pick six.
Yeah.
The only person that might have caught him was that receiver, and no, I just don't think they would have. Yeah, if you do that again, buddy, I don't know what else to tell you, but that's why they're cornerbacks and not wide receivers, right? So
you'll have to answer. If you do that again, buddy, you'll have to answer to Evan in those hands. He'll be waiting for you outside the locker room.
Yeah. Look, I'm looking like the Karate Kid right now with this thing on. Okay? You don't want to mess with me. All right?
Oh yeah,
don't mess with me.
The two sets of eyes staring at me right now are really unsettling. I feel like no matter where I move, like the fanatic eyes are just following me.
Well, yeah, of course. Always got to keep an eye out. Always got to stay alert, you know. Anyways, I think the Bucs are going to win this game as well. Like you said, though, like the 49ers have a pretty good defensive line, and the Bucs offensive line's not the greatest, maybe. So that could be a concern. The 49ers secondary isn't great. I think they had like I'm not joking. I think they had like 2 interceptions or something all last year. I read that somewhere. Maybe it has to be more than 2. Can you look that up really fast?
Yeah.
How many interceptions the 49ers defense had last year?
Yeah.
I feel like it has to be more than 2. But anyways, I think that it's going to be a lot like last year's game. And if you remember, last year's game was kind of slow at the beginning. Buccaneers came out and scored a touchdown on the opening drive, but after that, there was a few just meh. And then I believe the 49ers scored a touchdown, missed the extra point. It was like 7-6, and then Buccaneers kind of broke it open. I don't think the Buccaneers, I believe they won that game like 27-9 or something. I don't think they're going to win 27-9. I think you're right on the right track. I was going to say like 24-20. Buccaneers going to win. I think James will play well. I think I'm going to say 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah.
1 interception off a tip pass by a linebacker. It's going to be like right into the corner's hands.
Okay.
He's going to try. He likes to try and float the ball over the linebacker's fingers sometimes, like down a seam. And I feel like it's going to not be good this time. So, and the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to throw 1 interception, and it's going to be to none other than the returning man, Levante David.
Oh, I like that. I think Levante David has a chance to maybe not get more interceptions this year, but his sack total is definitely going to go up.
Also, Noah Spence is going to have a sack.
Yeah? You think Noah Spence makes the team?
Yes. Don't get he's good. Like I'm sorry.
I don't believe that he's
good.
not good. I don't believe that he's not good for a minute. I'm a huge fan of Noah Spence. I think this 3-4 defense helps him out more than anything else in his Buccaneers career. I think he's going to flourish, and he's going to play really well. A lot of people disagree with me there, but I think he's good. It's just, I mean, I don't know if he's going to start. That's the thing. I think they're going to do a rotation. I think, obviously, Nassib is going to be the one starter. Right.
On the one side. But on the other side, it's either going to be Barrett or Spence. And I mean, also, you know, they're going to be creative. Like, you're going to see some things. Like, I don't know exactly how much they're going to blitz. I really don't. I feel like that's sort of... I feel like blitzing is something you do when you have players that are comfortable enough in a system to perform that blitz and execute that blitz. Because if the blitz is not executed well, it could be disastrous. Because if you're blitzing, that's going to leave an open man possibly, and that's not good. So, all these exotic blitzes and stuff that you are hearing about Todd Bowles doing, I don't know if you're going to see it week 1, because week 1 everybody's trying to get their feet wet. By the way, guys, this is not going to be a pretty football game. Okay?
Oh yeah, it's going to be week 1 football at its finest.
Yeah. These guys, it's going to be sloppy. Like, these guys, like, you know how they say in mid-season form? Mid-season form is your best form, right? At the end of the season, you're wore down. Like, you just are.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the season, you're of energy, but you're sloppy.
Yeah. You're going to be... It's week by week. You're going to be learning how to execute certain things, how certain things are going to play out.
Good thing the Buccaneers have a full week to prepare, right, for the Carolina Panthers the next game, right? Oh no, wait, no, they have 3 days.
They don't. Of course they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm surprised the NFL just didn't, you know, say, hey, you know, we're going to give you a primetime game, and you're going to play San Francisco on Sunday, and then that Monday night you're going to play Carolina.
Yeah.
It's that's going to be week 2.
No issues whatsoever. And just to update what we talked about earlier, San Francisco did finish with 2 total interceptions on defense last year.
Yeah. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt, thinking I was wrong.
Nope.
That's brutal.
That's bad. I remember the interception drought that the Bucs had, but...
there's nothing like that. And also, the 49ers didn't have any interceptions against Jameis Winston when they played in Tampa last year. And Ryan Smith caught the interception that ended the drought, you know, against the 49ers. Ryan Smith won't be playing this game. Ryan
Smith missing those first 4 games with a suspension.
Yep.
People might have forgotten about that, but yes, He is suspended the first 4 games of the regular season,
and
so
he does not count towards the 53-man roster until that suspension is lifted. So
it's interesting.
We'll see what happens, but by the time you listen to this, you'll probably know the 53-man roster.
Yeah.
So guys, just want to let you know, like I said, I don't think they're done adding players. Like, I honestly don't. Because there's so much. I'm not saying a trade or anything, but there's going to be a lot of players cut, and if you think that this 53 is the 53 they're undoubtedly rolling with, well, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Because that's just not going to be the case.
So
the tough. Okay, go ahead.
No. You go ahead, and then we'll transition here.
All right. Sorry about that.
No.
The tough thing to gauge is almost a guy like Mike Edwards or Justin Evans. If both those guys are out, you need some safety depth, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough thing to gauge. Injuries, right? Guys with injuries. I think the Bucs have fine depth along most places besides the offensive line, maybe defensive line. So if they're going to add anybody, I would bet money it's an offensive lineman, but if I had to do a second place vote, probably be a defensive lineman. But yeah, I think also they said Blaine Gabbert was going to be out. Probably week 1 for sure, and maybe week 2. So I think it helps that it's not his throwing shoulder that got hurt.
Yeah, definitely.
So he should be back by week 3, I would guess, and be the backup. And obviously, they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks again. So Ryan Griffin, the legend of Ryan Griffin, Mr. August, as Jason Light likes to call him.
You know what? I actually threw something out on social media before the show, and I almost forgot to go over it. But let's cover it right now, and it regards Mr. August, Mr. Peyton Manning of the preseason, Ryan Griffin. And it's a question that comes from our buddy Griffin Greatness on Instagram.
Oh, this isn't going to be biased at all.
So, he said, how do you guys think Ryan Griffin did in the preseason, and is he making the team? If so, for how long? Well, long story short, Ryan Griffin played as well as he does any preseason. He had a pretty solid preseason, probably the most consistent Buck on the roster this preseason. He did have a 2-interception game against Dallas. Neither of those interceptions were really his fault. So, I mean, he played as good as he ever does. He's going to make the team. With Blaine Gabbert coming back in a few weeks, he'll probably still be our third-string guy. You don't want to see him get any action because, of course, that means Jameis probably went down, which you don't want, especially in a contract year.
And also, guys, they don't have a Ryan Fitzpatrick anymore.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Ryan Griffin, Blaine Gabbert, they might win you a game. I'm not going to lie. But if you think they're going to come in and win you 3, 4, or 5 games, they're just not.
No. It's not going to happen. Actually, we're about to see some Fitz magic happen in Miami, which I'm so excited about. I'm so excited.
Man, when he beats the Patriots, when he outduels Tom Brady, that's gonna be fun. When Tom Brady has a career day, and Ryan Fitzpatrick just outduels him stuff.
Oh yeah.
They played the Patriots week 2, so yeah, and the Bucs play Thursday night week 2. And week 2, Sunday, September 15th, week 2, Miami, New England, CBS, 1 o'clock in Miami, which Tom Brady never wins in Miami. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to deal. I'm going to be watching that game.
Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick is also the type of quarterback. He is in mid-season form for only the first 3 weeks of the season, and then he kind of falls into his normal self, but I'm excited. But going back, Griffin Greatness, yes, Ryan Griffin did have a good preseason. He's going to make the team, and he's probably going to be there all season. Let's just, for our sake, hope that he doesn't make the, well, not make the team, but make any in-game appearances those first few games.
Yeah, you don't want nobody.
You
never want to back. I'm sorry, but you never want to back up making an appearance. You just don't.
So we'll start to wrap this episode up. Believe it or not, we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. But Evan, I'm going to throw you on the spot here, Buckaroo. San Francisco 49ers come to town. What is your final score prediction?
24-20 Buccaneers. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, you were pretty much on point with the score. This is not going to be week 1 versus New Orleans last year. It's not. I don't think anybody expected that, and I don't even know if the Bucs expected that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's not gonna be a 48-40 final. It's more likely to be a 10-7 final than it is a 48-40 final.
Yeah, really.
Especially since it's a new offense right now. Still trying to learn it, and the Bucs defense is better. So both ends, I think they're just going to be scoring a lot less. So, 24-20. I think it's going to be a pretty back and forth game. But I do think that the defense is going to have to make a play to seal the deal. I feel like there's going to be maybe not like a ball on a 10-yard line, 10 seconds left. 49ers going to win or lose. But I feel like maybe the 49ers have like no timeouts, but they got the ball with like 2 minutes and 15 seconds left or something, and it's 3rd and 10. They don't get anything really, and it's 4th and 10 on the 2-minute warning, and the Bucs have to make a stop, and I feel like they're going to do it. So.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that defense this year as well. They looked pretty good during the preseason.
We'll see if they can get to the pass rush, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or definitely. The passer, I should say. Oh, by the way, if that pass rush looks non-existent, yeah, wait until you hear that episode.
So. The Buccaneers play the 49ers to open up the regular season coming up next Sunday.
Oh, one more thing.
Okay.
So, guys, how we're doing, like, Wednesday shows and stuff. But after the first week, the game's on a Thursday. So, we were planning on doing it, Tuesday?
Well, we could probably... I guess we'll do some live game planning here. I'm thinking it's a 4:25 game.
Okay.
Well, actually, I'm working till 11, so don't even worry about it. Monday, during the day, I don't know if you... Actually, Monday, I'm going to be busy as well. I don't know if you're busy Monday during the day. Yeah, dude. Listen, I've got a lot of stuff going on. I've got a job interview on Monday.
Busy man.
And then Monday night,
A job interviews?
Yeah, job interview Monday. And then Monday night, we have got the Bucs break on 102.5 The Bone. It's just a little job on the side. It's need the extra cash. You know what I'm saying?
Whoa. Not doing anything illegal here, are we?
Oh, no. Definitely not. Definitely not. So a job interview on Monday.
I'm not doing nothing illegal, sure.
But Monday night on 102.5 The Bone here in Tampa Bay, we've got the weekly Bucs break. So we're going to be giving you an instant reaction to that Sunday game. Make sure you give us a call every Monday night, 10 p.m. to midnight. 800-771-1025 is the number to call for those. Give us a call and we'll talk some Buccaneers football. That's every Monday at 10 p.m. But, shoot, I mean... I guess Tuesday.
Tuesday's the only day.
Tuesday's the only day.
Tuesday is it. So Tuesday it is, guys. Well, expected to be Tuesday. If anything changes, we'll let you guys know. But, yeah, Tuesday for this 1 week. And then after that, it's going to be on Wednesday. So expect the show during a normal game week. Expect the show to be available on Thursday mornings. But for after the first game, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to review that game, and then we're going to focus. One half will be reviewing the game, and then one half will be previewing the next game. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And honestly, I mean, since this is the last, I know this is running way over.
You're good, man.
I apologize, but this is the last show that we're going to be doing before the game. I mean, fantasy draft, sure, but we're not really going to be talking about the Bucs that much. Like, we're not going to be analyzing the San Francisco 49ers. So, this is it, guys. So, if your guys are heading to the game, enjoy the Tim McGraw concert. Which clearly the Bucs have not sold all the tickets because they are constantly promoting that.
I get ads probably like once an hour. Hey, Bucs fans, I'm Tim McGraw. I'm going to be playing a free show at Raymond James Stadium. So, Bucs play the 49ers to open up the season. We are so damn excited because football is finally back. Real football that counts. And inject all of it into my veins. I am so ready for this Bucs team
Every
to
last
take the field.
drop.
I am so excited for this Bucs team to take the field, and ladies and gentlemen, you should be too. But with all of that being said, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much for listening or watching with us on video with YouTube or BucsReport.com. Make sure you follow us on social media. The show on Instagram is Cannon Fire Podcast. We are also on Twitter and Facebook. Twitter is Cannon Fire Pod. Then, of course, Facebook, Cannon Fire Podcast. Voting was extended for the Best of the Bay through September 4th. So if you're listening to this and you have not voted, go to creativeloafing.com, find the Best of the Bay category, and go to Best Local Podcast. Make sure you vote Cannon Fire Podcast. Still plenty of time left to vote. And you can vote once every 24 hours. So if you vote for us once and you feel like voting for us again, make sure you do that damn thing.
Go ahead.
Shout out to our sponsors at the East Bay Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Youth Football, their season getting started here. They are a dominant football team, and if you're looking for something great that you can get your kids involved with athletically, they're based out of Riverview, Florida. It is an awesome program. And go Bucs, right? We're all Bucs fans, so of course you want to see your kids play for the Bucs. East Bay is the team to do it, so make sure you check them out, eastbaybucks.com. Last but not least, make sure you follow me and my host, Evan, on social media. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Redicus, and he is on Instagram and Twitter at BucksWave. Evan, any last words, my man?
Nope. Just if you guys are going to the game, enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Be safe this Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Just enjoy yourselves. Hopefully, the team puts out a good product for you guys that you guys can could cheer about and stuff.
Yeah.
If not, like I said, enjoy the Tim McGraw concert, and if not, look forward to me getting all upset about the pass rush on Tuesday, and Rhett just being depressed. And,
oh, come on now.
In a black hole of emotions.
It'll be a good show next week, and that's
no matter what. It's either gonna be like a really like oh yeah, they did a lot of things good. Like this is good, and now they're focused on Carolina. Or it's gonna be like, wow, okay, this team, this 49ers team. I'm sorry, this team they should probably beat if they're gonna be competitive this year. I'm sure the 49ers fans are saying the same thing. I mean, both teams are kind of in the same boat. But yeah, they should probably beat this 49ers team. So if they get manhandled by this 49ers team, that's not a good look.
Yeah, it's not. But let's hope they can do what a lot of people don't think they can do. Not us, obviously. But let's hope they can go in there and win to open up the season. Very, very excited to see it. Again, another key matchup with former Bucs linebacker Quan Alexander. It's going to be a great year. I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys are too. And we're so excited to continue our weekly coverage into the season. And again, man, I can't get over it. The Bucs play an actual football game next week. But
there's an actual football game. Bears-Packers. Thursday. Crazy. Less than a week.
That is insane. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Make sure you check out our buddies at BucsReport.com. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. Until next time, I am Rhett, signing off for Evan, and we'll talk to you next time. Go Bucs!